Hi, and welcome back to the Save It for Parts channel. Today, we're trying to get television from space, and not just boring old satellite TV. We're actually trying to get a signal directly from the International Space Station using this modified RV satellite dish that can track a moving object in low Earth orbit. I made a video recently about a weird little box I found at a garage sale that I thought was for stealing wireless cable back in the 70s and 80s. A few people said it's probably a semi-legitimate amateur TV receiver from the 70s or 80s, although there was some overlap between amateur TV and pirate TV. I mentioned in that video that the International Space Station used to broadcast amateur TV on the S-band close to Wi-Fi, so it's about 2.395 gigahertz from the space station, where Wi-Fi is 2.4 gigahertz. And I happen to have a dish up on the roof of the garage that will pick up that frequency range. The one that I just showed is designed for S-band to look at weather satellites. But let's go ahead and try the International Space Station's TV broadcast. This just came back online, or so I've heard. The equipment to broadcast this stuff from the space station has been out of commission for a few years, I think since maybe 2018 or so. They've brought up some new equipment to the space station, and they are going to start using this system again, so I wanted to give it a shot. Now, I don't think it's actually broadcasting much yet as I film this particular segment. I think it's either a test pattern or a blank screen. But we should be able to see the carrier frequency, and we should be able to see something on a software-defined radio, which is what I'm going to try first. Now, I still don't have a real ham shack, so I'm just using this old secondhand laptop in the garage, hooked up to the control brain for that Winegard Traveler dish that's up on the roof. I've showed that in some prior videos. It's supposed to be for camping or RV use, but I don't watch enough television, so I always repurpose those dishes for more interesting things. I'll run through my basic setup quickly again. I'm using a program called gPredict to look at satellite orbits, and I want to go ahead and update the TLE file or tracking data that actually tells me where satellites are in the sky. Next up, I want to open up the antenna controller section of gPredict, and I'm going to want to tell it to track the International Space Station. I also need to go over to my console, and I'm running a custom Python script here. So this talks to the control brain of that satellite dish up on the roof. In this case, we want it to track the space station as it goes overhead. Now, the last program I want to run is STR++, and that is talking to my software-defined radio. In this case, I'm using a Newelec Hack RF. And there's nothing yet because the space station is not overhead yet, but we can go ahead and turn on the bias T and make sure all of our amplifier and filter circuits up at the dish are turned on and powered. Now that we have all three programs running, the dish interface script down on the lower left, gPredict's rotator controller on the upper left, and STR++ over on the right, we just have to wait about 12 or 13 minutes for this space station to come into view. The dish will track it across, and we should see some kind of recognizable signal in the STR++ window on the right, or at least I'm hoping so. Again, I don't think there will be any video coming down this time, but this is basically just a practice run for me to get used to the setup and figure out what exactly I'm looking for. All right, well, the station just went basically overhead. I feel like I should be seeing something over here, but I even turned the gain all the way up and all I'm seeing is noise. This is why I wanted to do a test run on this, just because I don't know what I'm doing with this system, and I've never done amateur TV before. Now, it's possible that my filtering system on the dish is working against me. I have that one set up to pick up 2.25 gigahertz, which is closer to DMSP satellites. It's closer to the NOAA polar orbiting weather satellites on S-band. And up at 2.395 gigahertz might be a little bit out of the filtering range. So, it is also pouring rain outside, although we've got a nice rainbow over there, kind of where the ISS is passing by. So I do have another S-band dish, or specifically an S-band feed for the Discovery dish here. This one is tuned for 2200 megahertz, where I want something like 2400, actually 2395 is what I have written on my hand. So it might not be as efficient as a 2.4 gigahertz antenna, which would be closer to Wi-Fi, but we're going to try it anyway because this is the only other S-band dish I have. I might actually be getting interference from Wi-Fi, especially as the ISS comes up from over my house over here because I have Wi-Fi in the house. I have external Wi-Fi antennas. Yeah, the calibration on the phone has gone all off because it's stuck to this metal dish now. And if I wave the entire dish around, it does improve the phone calibration, but then Stellarium decides, oh no, you recalibrated. We're just gonna lose whatever you were tracking. All right, we've got the station coming overhead with a pretty good pass here, but I'm not seeing anything on the screen. It's possible this S-band feed on the Discovery dish is just tuned too low. If it's filtering at like 2250 megahertz, it's not gonna see 2395 megahertz. Yeah, I am seeing nothing on SDR++. It can be easy to get frustrated with projects like this. Like, I've spent multiple hours over multiple days trying to catch this signal, and I have nothing to really show for it. But I always try to think of it in a positive light. I'm gaining experience, I'm learning more about my equipment, I'm learning more about what I need to actually potentially pick this up, and hopefully, again, when it comes time for them to actually be transmitting television, maybe I'll have some equipment that will actually be able to catch that on one of the first orbits. That's the idea anyway. And I've always done my projects this way with a lot of trial and error. Pretty much everything on my channel has been try it, see if it works. When it doesn't work, figure out why, try it better next time. That's kind of the best way that I know to learn things. Now, yes, it does take a lot of time that I could be spending on other videos, on other hobbies. This is kind of why I don't do traditional ham radio stuff, because I'm always spending my time waving a dish around in the air instead of getting on the radio. But this is something that I'm really interested in. I want to get this amateur television thing working. I would like to get my equipment working for it, so I'm going to continue putting some time and energy into it, at least for now. Now, I do have a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi directional antenna, but I'm using it for internet on the duck coop. Why do the ducks need internet? I don't know, but they just keep demanding it. Now, I could have sworn I had a Wi-Fi antenna down here in this mess. I dug around in my antenna boxes some more, and I found this thing from Axeman Surplus. All right, I just had proof that my cat escape hatch on the garage works because I had shut the door. I just walked out, and rude Mr. Oliver, the neighbor's cat, was just coming out of the garage. Hi, come here. He's rude because he doesn't want to say hello to me. Hi. Yeah, hi. You'll tolerate pets, but you basically just tolerate them. You don't actually want attention, do you? All right, I'm gonna try attaching this antenna to my little Winegard Traveler Pro, which I don't like this dish as much because it only goes to about 75 or 80 degrees. It doesn't get a full 90 degrees. Well, so far I've seen nothing on that center frequency during the entire pass. I see Wi-Fi interference on the right side of the SDR window there, but we're not seeing any amateur TV on 2395 megahertz. Yeah, I am just repeatedly striking out on this amateur TV thing. So I stuck a Newelec Lana low noise amplifier up on the dish and turned that on with the bias T here on the computer. So we're definitely getting more interference from Wi-Fi now. All of those little blips of noise on the screen are just Wi-Fi from 2.4 gigahertz. Now, viewers who saw my video on the weird free TV box from a while back might be saying, well, you already have an amateur TV receiver. You already have this microcube thing. Well, a number of problems with this thing. It's AC powered. It just has 24 volt AC going into it, and I don't really want an AC current right at my dish focus. It's just going to introduce interference. There's no way to really adjust or tune this other than this one mysterious knob, and I don't really get any feedback on anything, so I don't know how I'm tuning the down converter. This was made in somebody's basement in the 1970s, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but from what I've been able to see inside, the quality of workmanship isn't great. I don't like the AC, I don't like much about it, and I don't really want to hook this up to my good equipment because I just don't trust the thing. So I do have a few things I could be doing differently with this. I could be using a bigger dish reflector. I could be using a better tracking motor that actually follows the station through more passes, higher passes. I could also be using a different feed. I'm currently using a linear feed. I believe it is a circularly polarized right-hand polarization signal coming down from a little patch antenna on the station. So this little spiral feed is not terrible, apparently, according to the chart here. And yes, this absolutely looks like a sci-fi prop. If this just made some little beeps and boops, this would be a fantastic little scanner device or fictional radio. So as far as another antenna, we have this guy that I just picked up, and this is basically the same as the one I'm currently using, Or is it? People ask, how do I get antennas like this? How do I find antennas? This one showed up on Facebook Marketplace a couple months ago for $500. And I said, no, they're not worth $500, especially not the Pro model. The Pro isn't as good. That's what I have up there. It only goes to 70 degrees. The older ones go to 90 degrees. So I said, no, definitely not worth $500. After a month of sitting there with no interest, it was $300 on Facebook Marketplace. And I still said, no, I don't want to pay $300, especially not for the Pro. Last week it was free. The guy selling it decided he wanted it out of his garage, out of his life. This isn't a Traveler Pro at all. This is the old one. This is the 2112 version, the LG 2112 WineGuard Traveler. So it's older. I think what the guy did is he took this off his RV, he upgraded to the WineGuard Traveler Pro, sold me this one or gave me this one in the new box. But this is actually what I want. I want the old one because it is much more capable than the new version. All right, this seems very safe and OSHA approved. I don't know how people get these up on top of their RVs. I'm also trying not to crush all these pumpkin vines because I want some of these pumpkins for Halloween. So I am running into a few issues controlling the new dish. I think that this one has a different firmware than my old WineGuard Traveler. They're the same model number, but I think one has been updated a little bit, so the commands in the firmware, in the serial interface, aren't quite the same. And this new one has HAL version 2.5. He's new, improved, and he's still not letting Dave into the pod bay doors. This is getting wildly off topic. This video was supposed to be about trying to find amateur TV from the space station, and now we're getting into hacking more WineGuard dishes. And it looks like my code is wrong, because there it goes. It is stowing. That is not what I want it to do. So back to the programming board. As usual, I'm trying to make these dishes do things they were never intended to do. They're just supposed to be television dishes for your RV. They're not supposed to be for weather satellites. Yeah, so I'm abusing it completely. I'm hacking it. I'm trying to make it do things that are not in its original programming. And it's always a challenge to do that because there's not really that much documentation. The interface to the firmware is kind of obscure. I'm kind of feeling my way along, picking through it, trying to figure it out by a lot of trial and error, and that always takes a long time. I wish I knew what I did with that stupid spiral feed. I had it in my hand, I tested it, and then I set it down somewhere in the house or the garage or outside or in the basement, or I'll never see that again unless it turns up in bed at 2 a.m. So after poking around on Thingiverse for a while, I came across this really cool 3D printed antenna design. It comes in several parts. So all the plastic parts in here are 3D printed, including this cool threaded cover. And then I've just put some foil tape on here for a ground plane and then a coil of wire for the left-hand circularly polarized feed. And that goes to a little SMA connector. And then I've tuned this for about 2.4 gigahertz. As usual, if you're interested in printing something like this, I will put the links to all the files that I found online so you can go check it out for yourself. And thank you again to Macadoja and whoever else came up with this ice cone design. This thing's pretty neat. All right, we are trying this again. ISS is coming up in about 1 second. My antenna controller box is very upset with me here. It does not like what I'm doing to it. All right, for a moment there, I thought I saw the ghost of a signal that looks a little bit different from all the Wi-Fi interference. Well, I think that's the closest thing I've seen yet to an amateur TV signal, so I think I might be on the right track, but it is still far too faint to do anything with. I'm really struggling to keep this video interesting. This whole thing has just been a series of, we're trying this, oh, it didn't work. Oh, we're trying this other, oh, it didn't work. Okay, I think I'm seeing, yeah, I'm seeing a little bit more now. Getting a decent signal, it's actually getting an identifiable digital TV signal in the middle here, so I'm pretty happy about that. Now, of course, I could be doing all kinds of other stuff with the space station when it passes overhead. I could be listening to the ham radio repeater, I could be talking through the ham radio repeater, or right now they're actually doing an SSTV event, slow scan television. So as I film this, the space station is sending down slow scan TV pictures versus the ham TV here, and everybody on my Discord is grabbing those, and they look really cool, and I could be out doing that, but I'm doing this instead because I've gotten myself kind of hyper-focused on this project. Now this HamTV thing is set up kind of like regular digital video from a TV satellite. It's just unencrypted, unsecured, because it's meant for the public. And so apparently you can actually decode it with a regular free-to-air set-top TV box, or supposedly with SatDump, I guess they've just added this DVB-S 2 demodulator program. So I'm running my recording through that. I don't expect to actually get anything out of it because it was such a bad signal. Almost everything in this video is very new to me. I've not actually done much with DVB, DVB-S 2. Even though that's super common with satellite television, I don't actually do much with satellite television. So I am learning right as I film this, as I do in a lot of my videos. So and SatDump has crashed, which also tends to happen on this laptop a lot. So yeah, more things for me to learn and figure out. All right, I have gotten up at way too early a clock to try another ISS pass, and I don't even know if this one is going to work. They had just announced that they're going to try activating the HamTV system over Europe. One benefit of doing it this early in the morning is that we're close enough to sunrise we might be able to see the station going overhead if the lighting conditions are right. And I'm hoping they'll do more of these passes over North America, over the US, but I haven't really found much info on HamTV in the US. It seems to be more of a thing over in Europe, in the UK, and I'm sure people do it here in the US. I just haven't found any websites about it, and I need to look around more. These days with AI slop taking over the internet, it's impossible to find anything. I don't even know if you can see me out here. I do not have a good lighting setup. Another fun problem is that it's so early in the morning. Everything is just covered in dew and condensation. Actually, water just poured out of my feed there. So water in your antenna is always a good thing, right? All right, station should be coming over the horizon. If we're very lucky, we should be able to see it as a little moving dot of light. I also noticed a trend which I've seen before of the signal being better on the second half of the pass. So as the station is going away from me, the signal is much better than as it's approaching. And I've seen that with the ham radio repeater on the station as well. It seems like the station is oriented in such a way that all of the antennas are aimed kind of behind it a little bit. So after it passes overhead, I have a much better signal from most of the amateur antennas on board. Well, I thought it was a good signal, but I'm still not getting enough to decode. I've kind of given up on the small satellite dish. It just isn't getting enough of a signal to reliably decode. We're going with this larger 6-foot diameter satellite dish, which is part of another project I'm working on. I figured while I have this set up in the yard, I might as well try it for some things like HamTV. So we're using the 2.4 gigahertz feed on here, and we're going to see if this gets a better signal than the little one. All right, we actually have this working. Ignore the frequency. This is not the correct frequency. It's just playing back a file. But we actually have enough signal on this latest recording to get a sync, at least a 1 out of 2 sync, and we actually have a black screen. And yes, this is super boring, but this is actually what we're looking for because this is all they're transmitting right now. So we finally have more than just the VLC logo. We actually are getting black screen video from the space station recording. So yes, not very exciting, but it's exciting to me because it's progress and we're finally getting something more interesting than nothing, which is what we've been getting the rest of this video. All right, we're trying this one more time just to make sure that I am doing this right and that I know what I'm doing. So we've recorded one more pass. This was another good pass directly overhead. So we are synced in our Viterbi and our deframer. It's flickering a little bit, but while we've got those synced, let's open up VLC and we will try to go ahead and open that network stream again. And it looks like it is actually playing. So we have a timeline here. We are actually playing that UDP stream. As usual, it's a black screen because, again, as I keep saying, that's all that it's transmitting right now. I wish they were doing some color bars or something, but apparently they're going to try that later on. Oh, I actually got it to say HamTV over there. That's a little different. And every now and then we're just getting some little flickers of stuff. So that tells me we are getting a digital TV signal. It's not just black because we're not playing anything. And with that, it is time to wrap up this video because we have gotten the basics of this figured out after months of trial and error and 20 minutes of video time. So hopefully I'm all ready to go if and when the space station starts transmitting live video over North America. This feels like one of my older satellite videos where I'm learning a brand new skill from scratch, from ground zero, just struggling my way along, but eventually we got some progress. If you would like to learn more about amateur TV or fast scan television, I will put some links down in the description. You can check those out, and stay tuned for when we come back to this project in the future. I hope this has been an interesting video for everyone. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.